the SAP-CC, convergence is very much required, and the convergence is needed at the very highest level. I'm pretty sure that this is not the first time that I'm talking about convergence is needed. What I'm trying to score a point over here, that how do we take convergence from the document to the ground level is something very, very important. And I would like to give a reference of the National Clean Air Program. National Clean Air Program, more or less, is the same as like the climate change. There also we have a multi-sectoral departments and the various agencies are working on that. But what AMCAP is basically doing slightly better, because this has been built as a performance-based program. So something like that we need to think here as well on the climate change. At the same time, when we have the SAP-CC, likewise in the NCAP, they have the comprehensive clean air action plan. We have a DAP-CC, which is a district action plan for climate change. There they have the district action plan, but these two plans has been converted into a micro action plan. And this is exactly what it has to happen for climate change in Jharkhand as well, with a clear target in terms of short-term, mid-term and long-term. And plus, it must be linked with the performance. This is very, very important, because what we have seen in the AMCAP, that if some agencies are not performing, their funds are being allocated to the other departments who are performing well. So I would suggest that is something like that we need to think about. The other point that I would like to talk about the data governance. As we all know that we need a lot of information from the ground. As of now, we need to develop inventories at the block level, even if it is possible at the panchayat level. Now, how do we create basically a data governance which is available as a knowledge product to the decision maker, so that they can make decisions in order to tackle the impact of the climate change. The third point that I would like to talk about, financing climate action. As we all know that the finance is one of the major constraints for implementing a large-scale program such as a climate change. So, state government has to be innovative in terms of tapping, public fund, multilateral, bilateral resources, as well as from the private sources. And this is where the business community has a big role to play. There are few people from the business sector are here. And I'm not talking about the role of business community in terms of doing their own action, but the technological innovation, some of the other things that they can help in order to implement the direction of climate change in totality. We also have to see what we can learn from others. As you must have noticed that the Uttar Pradesh is the first state in the country who has created a climate change authority. Now, even in our SAP-CC Jharkhand, there are some suggestions to have some implementation unit. But the initiative taken by UP government to create a climate change authority under the leadership of Chief Minister and the Chief Secretary and the Development Commissioner is something talked about bringing all the departments together. What I have experienced that they have created a dashboard for each and every district where the information are available for each and every department to consider and to take a decision. I'm glad that we are part of that initiative as well, where we are developing the district climate action plan for Banaras, Lucknow, Sonbhadra, as well as 27 vulnerable panchayat which the government of UP have identified. So we are already working on that. Apart from that, we also have to learn from the Jal Jeevan Haryana, India's largest climate change program that is run by the government of Bihar. And then there are other states like Karnataka, Himachal Pradesh, Gujarat. They are also working very well as far as the climate change program is concerned, and we need to see how best we can learn from them as well in order to make our climate change program more robust. The last point that I would like to talk about, how do we make climate change as a public health? Unless until the climate change becomes a public issue, I don't think that we will be able to achieve the success which we are hoping. Now, in order to do that, what we need to focus largely on how do we do an innovative campaign in communication. Some of the things that we have done in the past which has really resulted in a positive change. And I would suggest that we need to focus on basically 7 aim, which is basically the messages, messenger, how do we mainstream the majority, then how do we create an individual action, then how that individual action has to be converted into a movement building, and then multiples, repeat, repeat, repeat. So if we do something like that, I believe that we'll be able to make climate change as a mass and public issue, and we'll have a much more positive results on the ground. I would like to conclude that I don't need to say that climate change is basically how urgent it is. Like, I mean, we all know that how urgent it is. My point is that the less we do now, the more regulation we'll have in future. And we should not let our well go dry to understand the importance of water. With that, I would like to stop. Thank you.